Hi, my name is Cliff Weitzman. I'm a CEO living in London, and this video is about personal finance and what you could do to get rich. Just kidding. It's about what you can do to get really sophisticated about money. In this video, I'm going to cover how I used to think about money before college, during college, and after college. What was the most painful experience that I had relating to money? What are the things that most impacted the change in my thinking about money? How I allocate my portfolio, and what you guys should invest in, what bank accounts to open, what credit cards to use, and how I end up thinking about valuing my time and what I do to learn more about personal finance. So let's get started. So I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and we grew up in Israel, and 5 kids is a lot. And so we grew up being extremely frugal. One of the biggest motivations when I was young to read is my dad would give us 5 shekels to read a book. And I wanted to read the book so badly. Not just because I was curious, but because I wanted to make money. And I couldn't read books because I'm very dyslexic. And my dad did a really, really good job instilling in us the value of money without having it feel like the end all. You know, I grew up in a family that has a lot of unconditional love, and I got a lot of support from my parents and my siblings, but I still wanted to do well. And so I grew up with a lot of respect around money. I remember we had a babysitter one day, and she wanted to take us to the movies. And I asked her how much it would cost. And she's like, don't worry about it. Like, you're a kid, you don't need to think about this. And I was like, no, I do need to think about this. What? If you don't teach me now, how will I ever learn? And I think that's actually a really, really good situation to happen. Like, you should always seek to learn how much things cost. Why do you do the things that you do? Even if you're not the ultimate decision maker, like, get yourself involved and understand. We learned what my mentality about money was when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Then we moved to the US, and God, the US was so expensive compared to Israel. Like, literally take all the prices and 4x them. When I was young, my biggest passion was singing and gymnastics. And both of those things were very expensive, especially gymnastics. Mind you, this was my passion. So what did I do? I Googled every single gymnastics place within, a 10-mile radius of my house. Couldn't find a place. Every time I saw anybody doing a backflip, I would run to them and ask them where they learned how to do a backflip. And I did this hundreds of times. Then one day, some dude in a park, maybe like 3 blocks down, did a backflip. And I saw this out of the corner of my eye, and I immediately started running. I climbed 3 fences, got to the guy, excuse me, where did you learn how to do this? And he told me where he learned how to do this, and he gave me an address, 1000 Sir Francis Drake. It was a rec center. I looked it up, it was not on Google. So I just showed up one day. It was 3 miles away from my house. I biked there. I was 14 years old, and it was closed. And the 4th day, it was open. And I went in, and there was trampolines. Trampolines, and the guy who owned it, his name was Juan. I started getting to know Juan, and a class was like more expensive than what I could afford. But I enrolled in the 1st class, in the 2nd class, in the 3rd class, and then I negotiated with, again, I'm a 14-year-old kid. I negotiated with Juan that if I achieved a certain level, I could start coming to open gyms for free because other kids would benefit from me being in the gym. And I was like, okay, well, what does this mean? And we made a list on a piece of paper of what were the skills I needed to achieve in order to be able to come to this rec center for free. I needed to be able to do, there were like these 10 things. So I became a machine. I showed up at this gym every single day. I would pay for open gym, and you couldn't talk to me. All I needed to do was achieve these 10 things. And after maybe like a month and a half, I achieved all these things. And then I could come to open gym for free. And then I would just come every single day, and I would practice to be able to do backflips. And I couldn't afford the lessons. So I would just save YouTube videos to my phone, and I would sit there and I'd watch the video, and then I'd go and I'd try to do this. And I'd watch the video and I'd go and try to do this. And by the way, this is how I learned how to do backflips. So that's how I solved the problem with being able to pay for gymnastics in high school. Okay, so then I got to college, and I was very excited to go to college. I had no idea what the good colleges were because we had immigrated from Israel, and the only schools my parents knew were Harvard, Yale, MIT, and Stanford. I'm gonna apply to all the colleges. Most people apply to 6 to 8 colleges. I applied to 26. I got rejected from everywhere. There were like the good schools I applied to, except for one place. This place called Brown University. Somehow I get into this place, but the financial aid was not good. Like, not nearly good enough. The way the financial aid, by the way, works in top schools is extremely important. Most people don't know this, so listen. Top schools in the United States and top boarding schools as well have need-blind, need-based financial aid. What does that mean? It means that when you apply, the admission committee do not see whether you're asking for financial aid or not. They're admitting you 100% based on your merit. And the financial committee assesses your financial aid award based 100% on your need, not on your merit. This is for every single Ivy League school. It's for Stanford and MIT. So that's really powerful and extremely important. It means that if you're extremely poor, it doesn't matter. If you perform really well in high school, if you're the captain of the soccer team, if you're the president of the debate club, if you do all this big stuff and you write good essays, do not worry about the cost of college. They'll cover everything for you. If you can show that, you need it. And once again, I had to ask this question. Do I work full-time during college to pay for college, or do I take loans? And I did the math of how much 1 minute of college costs me, and it was a lot. And I was like, I'm already paying for this minute. I might as well spend it learning, being with people, doing stuff, than working in the cafeteria. So eventually, to get out from all this debt, I hired 10 freelancers in the Philippines to find and apply to scholarships for me full-time. I did this via Upwork, and I had a 5,300% return on investment within 3 months of doing this. And my understanding was, again, this is arbitrage. If I applied to the right scholarship for people with dyslexia or studying energy or studying math or above a certain GPA, I usually won. Once again, I brute forced the system. In the same way that I applied to 26 schools, I applied to 200 scholarships, and I was able to pay for college. Again, what I noticed was that there was an asymmetric opportunity here to make money, and specifically pay for this one thing that was really important to me. Where did you get the idea to hire freelancers in the Philippines to apply to scholarships for you? This is ridiculous. Well, when I was 17, 18, I read a book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And it talked about the idea of hiring virtual assistants, as well as a bunch of other really good pieces of advice. So read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. It's the best book on entrepreneurship that I'd ever read. When I was 23, I failed big time. I had a goal when I started college. I wanted to have $10 million by the time I graduated college. Surprise, I didn't achieve this goal. And I had reset myself. I was like, okay, by the time I'm 23, I should have $10 million. Surprise, at 23, I still had a negative, not negative net worth, but I definitely didn't have $10 million. I go in and talk to my dad, and I'm like, Dad, I didn't achieve my goal. And he's like, what was your goal? I wanted to have $10 million by the time I was 23. And I was like, why do you need $10 million? And I explained the story to him, and he's like, yeah, but you don't have kids right now, and you don't have a mortgage. So like, why do you need it now? You need it when you're like 40. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, Cliff, let me tell you something. When your mom and I got married, we didn't have a lot of money, but I had my education. I was an accountant, I studied economics. I knew I could make money. And so I didn't feel bad about it. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting approach. And so I kind of reshuffled the way that I thought. And I did feel that I had a bunch of skills by that point. And then I did this long flight from San Francisco to Israel. And in it, I pulled up Google Sheets, and I was like, all right, why do people want money to begin with? You want money to achieve your goals. So what are the things that are important to me? And I wrote 5 categories that I really cared about. People that I love and what I want to do for the people that I love. Romantic love, fitness, music, and adventure. And I was like, cool, what are my goals in each one of these categories? So the people that I love, I wrote down all their names. And I wrote, what is one goal that I have for every single one of these people that I'm going to help them with that goal? Romantic love. All right, I want to be able to take girls on a date twice a week. I want to be able to buy clothes that like make me not look like a homeless person. Ideally, I should live in a place that is close to other people, and I should be able to afford Uber rides to go meet them. Fitness. I need to be able to buy protein powder, and I need to be able to buy chicken breast, and I need to be able to pay for a gym membership. Music. There's a service called DistroKid. I wanted to be able to pay for DistroKid to list my songs on Spotify. I wanted to be able to buy a guitar, and I wanted to be able to pay for guitar lessons. And adventure. I decided I was going to pay for 1 adventure a year, and 1 adventure a year, I'd find a program that would sponsor me to do it. These were my goals. And I did the math of exactly how much it would cost me to do all this stuff. Turned out that to have all these goals accomplished that year, I needed to be able to make $63,000. It made me feel so much more secure about my financial well-being because I now had a very clear understanding of how much money I needed and why I needed that money and by what point in time I needed that money. Because indeed, you don't need $10 million as a 23-year-old. So this is the biggest change about the way that I thought about money. And this is what I would have told 18-year-old Cliff when he was going into college. Like, relax, kid. You don't need $10 million right now. And in life in general, I love to have a very clear plan, and I'm very open-minded about changing it. So now I had a very clear plan about my financial well-being, and I was going to change it over time as needed. So that's how my thoughts about money changed and what I would have changed in the past. What are the first steps that you should do to improve your financial health? Number 1, open, if you're American, a bank account with Ally Bank. Ally Bank has a customer service that is like very, very fast. They charge you no fees. It doesn't necessarily need to be Ally, but like find a bank that you like. Make your life easy by having a good bank. I recommend Ally Bank. Number 2, what credit card should you use to open? My recommendation, Chase Sapphire Preferred. Gives you the best points, easy to get. And then investing. Open a investing account either with Vanguard, which is a not-for-profit essentially, so they don't charge you crazy fees, or Schwab Bank. You can also do Robinhood. I like having something that lets me invest online on my computer. Cliff, tell us about your investing history and where you would invest your money if you had a bunch of money. So in college, I still had a lot of loans, but the interest rates on the loans was variables. Some of the loans that I had was 4%, some of them were 5%, some of them was 8%, some of them was 10%. The first thing I did is I paid off all the loans that were 10% and 8%. And then I had loans that were 5%. And then you gotta make a choice. Do you spend the money that you have paying off those loans or investing it in the market? Loans that were 10% or 8% immediately pay. Loans that were less than 5% and less, you can choose to either invest in the market or take off the loans. For a lot of people, loans give them a lot of stress. If that's the case, just pay off the loans. I decided to invest some of the money. and I invested in the companies that I really believed in, typically you're best off just investing your money in the S&P 500. An important rule is it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. But you gotta be super patient. When you invest for a long-term view. Do not try to day trade, you will lose. So Cliff, how would you allocate your portfolio today? Here's what I would do if I was you. The first thing that I would do is, if you don't have a lot of money, take 3 months of burn and put them in cash. Don't invest them in anything, just like have them for safekeeping. Then add another month just as a backup. Figure out, how much it costs you to pay for rent, food, insurance, etc. So save those 4 months. After that, you can start investing. If you have a bigger net worth, do it for a year of your burn. Put it aside, just to be safe. Cool. After that, how much do you invest? I would recommend personally putting 30% of net worth in crypto and the rest in the public markets. The crypto allocation I would do is, of that 30%, 70% I would put in Ethereum and the rest I would put in Bitcoin. Again, you should expect all that to go to zero. So feel comfortable losing it. And if you don't feel comfortable losing it, do a smaller percent. You can do even just 1% of net worth, but I recommend having at least a little bit in crypto. If you don't believe in crypto, do not invest in crypto. I can make another video about, my thoughts about that ecosystem. Public market investing. People typically say that you should invest your money in the S&P 500. I don't believe in the S&P 500 as much as most people do, because I think that old companies are not governed well. I think they're not smart businesses. I think the businesses that will do the best in the long term are businesses that take advantage of narrow applications of deep learning, which is a subcategory of artificial intelligence. And actually, Speechify uses 6 types of deep learning in our software. There was a point in the past where the internet was the biggest wave that was happening. And there's a very famous video about Jeff Bezos explaining why he started Amazon. And it's because he saw 3,200% growth of the internet. I think it was either per month or per year. And he was laughing in the Jeff Bezos famous laugh in front of a reporter. And people thought he was, crazy. People made a thing like Amazon.toast. They thought the company was going to die. But he understood the power of the internet. In the same way that the internet was a very powerful theme back then, artificial intelligence is a very powerful theme now. It just allows you to make such outsized creation of value. And so, who are the companies that are doing the best with deep learning? Facebook when it comes to the algorithm for serving. Netflix when it comes to the algorithm for serving your content. Apple, Tesla, Microsoft. You have seen also during the pandemic that these stocks have done super, super well. And so what I would recommend is investing in FANG, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. And then I would also add to that Tesla and Microsoft. And so I would actually put my money in the public markets in these companies. And then if you have extremely high conviction about something, you can also dip into that, but I would call that speculation. I don't think that's smart investing. That's my personal opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't feel the need to follow my advice. But this 30% in crypto, 70% in public markets, within public markets, these companies, is the way that I would recommend investing one's capital. Okay, but even before you invest in that, the best thing that you can invest in that will have the highest return is investing in yourself. Buy an unlimited amount of books. That's the first place that you should spend your money, is buying audiobooks. $30 per audiobook, well, that sucks. Maybe download Speechify and just upload the PDF for free. But really invest in learning. In summary, number 1, write a Google sheet about what you want money for, age 23 all the way up to 200, and figure out what are the 5 categories that you care about most in your life. And the second you'll write this article, you'll be a happier person. Number 2, decide what you really care about and want to spend your money on, and what things do you not care about. Number 3 is, I'm linking down below an article that I wrote about personal finance, and it'll teach you how to open the best bank account, how to pick the right credit card, and how to start investing. It's an article on Medium. Listen to it with Speechify. Download the Speechify Chrome extension here, super important, or download the Speechify iPhone app here, and go and do stuff. Don't just listen to me saying words, do stuff. And so one thing that I realized about personal finance is, if you do stuff online, sometimes there's a little bit of a friction, but if you call the company on the phone, you can move a lot faster. This is also why I like Ally Bank. So open the article, call the number to open a bank account with Ally, call the number to start, an account with Chase, and just start doing stuff. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a good listener. Thanks for using Speechify and being a learning machine. Download Speechify below. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe.